Here's what nobody tells you about Thanksgiving. The holiday doesn't really start when the turkey goes in the oven. It starts when someone puts on a 19-minute song about garbage, jail, and a very confused draft officer. Have a seat here with me on the Group W bench and let's talk about it. Today we're talking about Arlo Guthrie's 1967 debut album, Alice's Restaurant. Yep, the album with the title track, Alice's Restaurant Massacree, that somehow became a Thanksgiving tradition in thousands of homes. We're getting into Arlo, his dad Woody, the weirdly long life of this record, the movie it gave birth to, and a few other songs on the album that deserve way more attention than they get. And there's a reason the whole thing still hits after all these years, which I'll get to. So, Arlo Guthrie. If you grew up with even a modicum of knowledge of folk music, you know who Woody Guthrie is. Woody Guthrie was basically the blueprint for modern American protest songs. He wrote This Land Is Your Land, which we all learned in elementary school, and half the country still thinks it's a cute sing-along. It was actually a pointed political rant with a guitar. Arlo grew up right in the middle of that world, singing, storytelling, people dropping in and out of his house with guitars and problems. So Arlo absorbed that whole environment, the honesty, the humor, the way you could talk about something serious by pretending you weren't talking about it at all. That's basically the DNA of Alice's Restaurant. The title track is this sprawling 19-minute long story about a real Thanksgiving in 1965 when Arlo and his friend tried to help clean up Alice and Ray Brock's home by taking out the trash, which they then dumped illegally because the dump was closed on Thanksgiving Day. And youth and bad decisions are a powerful combination. That one choice turned into a chain of events that eventually landed Arlo in front of the draft board, where the US government decided that he was unfit for military service in Vietnam because he was a litter bug. And yes, people play this story every Thanksgiving. While normal families watch football, other families gather around the stereo to hear a guy talk about garbage, police photos, and a draft sergeant losing the will to live. It's kind of perfect. But here's the part people forget. Alice's Restaurant is not just the title track, which is actually titled Alice's Restaurant Massacree. The LP actually has other songs, good ones. Songs that didn't get swallowed by the 19-minute folk monster. Chilling of the Evening is this gentle, almost lonely track that shows Arlo wasn't only about jokes. He could do the aching, poetic things too. I'm Going Home gives you that upbeat, light on its feet energy that almost tricks you into thinking everything is fine and the world isn't burning. And Highway in the Wind is one of those songs that makes you want to wander the country for a while, or at least think about wandering the country while you stay at home and eat leftovers. The album blends humor, protest, melancholy, and that particular Guthrie family way of shrugging at the world like, yeah, it's messed up, but we're still here. But the album wasn't supposed to become a holiday tradition. It wasn't meant to be the audio version of Cranberry Sauce. The track was originally just Arlo being sarcastic about the draft. And yet it became the one thing radio stations have to play every Thanksgiving or risk angry phone calls from people peeling potatoes. How did that happen? How did a goofy draft dodger story turn into a cultural ritual? Part of it is timing. The album dropped in 1967 when the Vietnam War was at a point where everyone had an opinion and nobody was calm about it. Arlo wasn't preaching, though. He was just telling a story, and stories are easier to digest than lectures, even a story that involves a literal pile of trash. Another part of it is legacy. A Guthrie singing about a broken system hits differently. His dad, Woody, called out injustice with grit and anger. He wrote, "This machine kills fascists," on his guitar. Arlo, however, did it by pointing out how ridiculous everything was. Same message, different delivery. And then the unexpected twist. The 1969 movie, Alice's Restaurant. If you ever want to see a film that feels like a time capsule, someone buried under a tie-dyed tarp, this is it. Arthur Penn directed it. Arlo starred in it as himself, and it's somehow managed to be real and surreal at the same time. The movie keeps the story alive and helps explain why the album stuck around instead of becoming a dusty relic. But the real reason the album became a Thanksgiving tradition is because Thanksgiving is the one holiday where Americans sort of agree that everything's a mess and we might as well laugh about it so we don't cry. Nothing sums that up better than a teenager getting arrested for tossing trash off a cliff. And the key moment, the reason the LP still sounds relevant, is the punchline that lands near the end of the title track, that the US Army decided that Arlo Guthrie wasn't fit for military service because he had a criminal record for littering. This is the moment where the whole story flips. It goes from a messy Thanksgiving Day errand to a critique of the war machine, wrapped inside a joke, wrapped inside a folk song, ending up in a tradition that sits next to the turkey and the stuffing. Every year, people hear that part and remember systems are weird, authority gets confused, and sometimes a person with a guitar is the only one making sense. So, Alice's Restaurant isn't just a debut album. It's a snapshot of a country trying to figure itself out. It's Arlo Guthrie carrying the torch his father Woody lit, but using a different kind of flame. One that burns a little softer, a little funnier, and a little stranger. And the whole thing somehow turned into a Thanksgiving ritual, proving once again that we're all just looking for a story that helps us make sense out of the chaos, even if the story starts with a big pile of trash. I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving this year. Put on Arlo and Alice's Restaurant Massacree if you get a chance. It's a great song. And I will leave some clips in the description, so check those out. Please consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed it. It doesn't cost anything and it helps build my channel. I appreciate it. Happy Thanksgiving, and I will see you in the next one.